Hello, my name is Tom Wheat. I'm a principal scientist in the systems laboratory at Waters, and I've had the opportunity to work with the ACQUITY UPLC H-class for some time now. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the solvent management system of this instrument, specifically the Quaternary solvent manager. Let's look at how the solvents pass through the instrument to perform the assay. The 4 solvents labeled A through D are placed in the tray on the top of the instrument. The solvent lines come through the channel here on the side of the instrument down into the body of the pump itself. All 4 solvents follow pretty much the same path through the system, so let's look at just one of them to see where it goes. Let's follow the C line. It comes first into a vacuum degasser that eliminates any dissolved gases that could interfere with the flow or compromise the proportioning. The flow comes out of the vacuum degasser into the gradient proportioning valve and out of the gradient proportioning valve to a manifold where the 4 solvents meet for the first time. The gradient proportioning valves open in sequence where the proportion of time that each valve is open corresponds to the percentage of that solvent that is specified in the gradient table. The 4 solvents meet at the manifold and leave the manifold as a series of solvent segments like railroad cars. They enter through the intelligent intake valve and into the primary pump head, where the solvents for the first time are in the same common volume and begin to mix. The flow goes from the primary pump head through the accumulator onto the divert valve that is used in priming the system and pass through a final polishing mixer that sends the blended solvent through the auto sampler and onto the column where the analytical separation occurs. The gradient formed by the QSM is sufficiently reproducible and precise to ensure its successful use in routine analytical methods. It is also compatible with transferring methods to and from both HPLC and UPLC. But the real value of the system in our work has proven to be the 4 solvent blending capability using a technique that we call auto blend. When we prepare solvents for running analytical chromatography methods, we typically make a mixture of water, organic solvent, and some typically ionic modifier, and we make a strong and weak or an A and a B solvent. With the auto blend technique, instead, we use bottles of pure solvent and concentrated modifier to prepare any composition that we desire. If you look at this diagram of how the auto blend method works, you can see how we run a gradient of increasing acetonitrile in the presence of TFA, using, as I said, bottles of pure solvent and modifier. We can change the concentration of TFA if we need to, simply by programming a different percentage from the D line. This is important for methods development because a reverse phase separation is dependent upon the organic solvent, the identity of the modifier, the pH, and the ionic strength. Instead of having to make multiple bottles of solvent to do our separation development, we just form different compositions by programming different percentages from the software. We can change TFA concentration, or we can get a different selectivity by replacing some or all of the acetonitrile with isopropanol. This methods development strategy proves very useful, but the same techniques turn out also to be useful in running routine analytical methods. Because we're still working with bottles of pure solvent and concentrated modifier, we don't have to make up as many bottles of solvent. We don't have to make as many measurements. That obviously means less effort on our part and also fewer opportunities to make errors in the preparation of the solvent. I hope this short overview of the ACQUITY UPLC H-Class Quaternary Solvent Manager has been interesting and useful. If you have any questions or need additional information, please consult the Waters website or contact your local representative directly. Thank you.